Did you ever feel overwhelmed by a desk that was too cluttered? What about our digital world, and more especially Git? In the actual world, we clean up our desks, but what about our digital world? Have you ever put some money aside in a safe place, only to realize that you have a lot of it piled up and you have no idea what to do with it? You might be new to Git and have just discovered the stash command. However, you are now thinking, how do I get rid of these stashes, after discovering the command? So, there is no need for concern, Git warriors. The episode that you are about to listen to is a comprehensive guide that will help you organize your Git stash and maintain a streamlined workflow. What is a stash, anyway? Before we dive into deletion, let's rewind a bit. Imagine you're working on a project in Git, but something urgent pops up. You don't want to lose your progress, but you also need a clean working directory. That's where the stash command comes in as your digital savior. Think of a stash like a temporary storage locker for your uncommitted changes. It takes your modified files and snapshots them away, leaving your working directory clean. This allows you to switch gears and come back to your stash changes later. However, like any storage locker, stashes can accumulate. They're a great temporary solution, but you don't want them hanging around forever. So, how do we declutter our Git stash and reclaim that digital space? Banishing the most recent stash, a clean sweep. Let's say you only want to get rid of the most recent stash, the one taking up prime real estate. Here's the magic command. Git stash drop. That's it. This simple command removes the most recently created stash. Remember, this is a one-way street. Once dropped, the stash and its contents are gone for good. Taking aim, deleting a specific stash. But what if you want to delete a specific stash, not just the most recent one? Git lets you target stashes by their unique identifier. To find these identifiers, use the git stash list command. This will display a list of your stashes, each with a reference like stash at 0, stash at 1, and so on. The higher the number, the older the stash. Once you've identified the unwanted stash, use the drop command with the specific reference. Git stash drop stash at 1. In this example, we're deleting the second most recent stash. Wiping the slate clean, deleting all stashes. Feeling a bit overwhelmed with your stash collection? Maybe it's time for a complete refresh. Here's the command to delete all your stashes in one go. Git stash clear. A word of caution, be wary of the wiping power. Remember, using clear removes all stashes, not just the most recent one. Make sure you're absolutely certain you don't need any of them before using this command. There's no undo button for deleted stashes. The art of stash maintenance, keeping things organized. Now that you know how to delete stashes, let's talk about best practices. Here are some tips to keep your Git stash organized. Give your stashes descriptive names. When creating a stash with git stash push m fixed login bug, you're adding a message describing the changes you stashed. This makes it easier to identify the right stash later. Don't hoard stashes. Use stashes strategically for temporary setbacks, not long-term development branches. If you find yourself constantly stashing work, consider creating a new branch instead. Clean up regularly. Make deleting old stashes a habit. This keeps your Git workflow streamlined and avoids confusion.